Almost when you don't show it, you should get nominated. Mm-hmm.
So, Mason, what was that dirty joke you were telling us?
Sign up on Richmond Christian County.
Thank you.
City of Columbia.
Yeah.
Where they monitor the flow and then if there's an excess amount. I did it. Whenever he told me about it, I got an email this morning. That said, hey, you got excess. And I'm like, well, I'm the heck out of the sprinklers trying not to like trash.
Yeah.
I don't think I got a leak. I'll go check the Facebook page. It was the first time I've ever gotten like an alert from him. I was like, what is this? And I thought, oh, pretty good.
That's funny. There for a while, Darren was really pushing everybody to do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Good one.
Great to see everybody, and a respectful speaker, if you would please silence your cell phones. I'm going to ask how to come up with the invitation. Just pray together, please. Heavenly Father, we come together again as Rotarians and just thank you for the opportunity to be together today. We thank you for a successful bocce bash on Saturday. Thank you for Andy and all the work he put in, and David and everybody that were working on that. We just thank you for that. Good weather. We just ask you to continue to guide and direct our paths as a club as we continue to grow. Help us to have it in front of our mind as we are going about our days in the community and thinking about others that might join us. So we need your spirit to guide us there. We thank you that we are in America where we're relatively safe, but not always. And so I pray for safety around us here. Pray for our troops overseas and what's going on there. Pray for our leaders, that you give them wisdom, and that you would guide us to a point where we can really all be together again, one nation under God, in a way that is comfortable and not uncomfortable. We learn to be civil and to speak to each other kindly and basically follow the four-way test in all we do. We need your help in that. Thank you for the food. Thank you for the hands that prepared it. Please bless this meeting and our speaker today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Hal.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, they proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free
say visiting Rotarians. Okay, we have those. Okay. So we start with Catherine ladies first. And a guest and a visiting. Yeah,
All of us. It's all food groups.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Catherine Davis. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Tracy Cooper, and she's the School District 1 Director of Strategic Partnerships. So we're very happy to have you here today. And she's also a member of the Spring Valley Rotary Club, who comes to our club and sells nuts.
I'm Mason Hardy, and I don't know if y'all remember, but Creative Financial Strategies sold our company to Hub International about a year and a half ago, so I'm with Retirement and Private Wealth at Hub International. But today I have employee benefits specialist in the Carolinas for all education institutions, Gil Weathers.
Any other guests?
I just wanted to point out we have Betsy Beals with us, who is a member of this club that we hope could be a member again, and Terry Judy, which is Terry in the name.
Thank you, Hal. Now just a couple of announcements. I'm going to get Andy to come up to talk about Bocce if he can. But while we're doing that, while he's coming up, anybody as a board member, if you will, remember we've got a board meeting right after this, so please stick around for it. And Andy, I'm going to hand the mic to you.
We're still looking for teams for next year. First of all, for those who came to the Bocce Bash, I think you saw what a great success it was. Great weather, great time, great facility. I really think the folks at Benedict do us justice and do it well, at least to get everything prepared for us and leave everything open, I think, for folks to come on in and do what they need to do. For everyone who participated, sponsored, had a team, tried to play bocce, tried to drink a lot of beer, whatever you try to do. Thank you very, very much from the bottom of our hearts, and let's try to do this again next year. Oh,
Wait, I'm sorry.
I was going to get to that.
I'm sorry.
First of all, I'm supposed to announce who won, and it was some architecture firm. And that's where we ended. Let's repeat. And Margaret had everything to do with it. She kept on coaching them and micromanaging them all during it.
Imagine that.
Throw the ball right, and then, you know, I just don't think you should have pushed her coworkers like that. But I wanted to real quick. But before I let the champion speak, I do want to thank her, Kelly Augustine, David Reneker, Phil Brummett, the Stevensons, both Hal and Gracie, Carl Byers, Rox Pollard, Stephen Creech, Laura McKinney, Zach Grimsley, Graham Davidson, all of y'all who served on our committee, helped us raise some money. For, as I said, for any of you who also participated and I didn't name you, I thank you in my heart. And now here is for the 15-minute speech from our winner.
Andy is an amazing support ref. He was with me on all those courts, and it was really tricky because you have to measure once, measure twice, measure 3 times. So a couple of funny things. So we were very blessed. We've gotten into the quarterfinals. Last couple of years we got in the quarterfinals, but couldn't really get it over the finish line. So this year we really rocked it. And we ended up playing Hal's team at one point, and Hal stood up and he goes, okay, everyone say the 4-way test right this minute. So everybody's like kind of looked at him like he was crazy, and that's okay, only I knew what that was, which was really fun. But then we ended up in the finals playing against a team called Botulism. They were called Botulism, which was really funny. And they were a team of made-up lawyers, a couple of defense attorneys, a couple of criminal attorneys. And when they already played us once, and then we beat them, and then we had to play them again. And we stood up and they went, oh no, it's those architects. And so David, our architect, he goes, yeah. He said, you guys see grass, we see vectors, spheres, and angles. So they were like, okay, fine. Anyway, we won, and we were really blessed, and it was a beautiful day. We were so blessed with amazing weather, and Andy said Benedict was just an awesome place to do that, and they're very generous. So So thanks to everyone who did that, because it takes all of us to pull those things off. Anyway, thank you so much.
Congratulations on winning. I just want to thank the committee. Phil Brennan did a great job with the court judges. That's a hard job, right, Phil? And Andy did a great job leading the team. He might even be willing to do it next year. So just a little encouragement. But again, thanks to everybody. It's our only fundraiser. The net number, the gross number that we got was $53,500, which was raised total gross before expenses, and then we get 40% of the net number. So we don't know that number yet, but it's going to be similar to, or maybe a little better than last year. So thank you all for everybody that was involved. Now Mike Peck is going to do Health and Happiness for us.
Guess what I'm going to talk about? CART Fund. We are in the start of the ninth inning here. We have 6 more meetings left. I think if I asked everybody here if you've been affected by Alzheimer's, I think every single person in this room would raise their hand in some way, shape, or form. Again, dear to my heart. Now, we set a goal for the year. We only have 6 meetings left till that goal is finalized. And we're still short. We did some numbers. When I said, we sat down, average about 50 to 60 members come in every meeting. If we can get $40, just $40 between now and 6 weeks up, we reach our goal. But I know this rodeo will do better. I know you'll do $80, right? Right, okay. With that said, again, we're trying to reach this goal. We do a lot of help for Alzheimer's research. They used to have to do spinal taps to see if you had Alzheimer's. Now it's a blood test. That's good fun. So help do that. I'm not going to record it today. I'm going to do South Carolina. There's 2 mottos in South Carolina. Hopefully everybody knows them. I did not. And they're engraved on the Great Seal of South Carolina. It says, prepared in mind and resources. If I breathe, I hope. So be prepared in your resources, and I know with Rotary we will have hope.
So if you remember, we drew matching points. Actually, Anita, I think, has got matching points for any dollar that you give. You're going to get a matching point for the foundation. So please give. We're still a little bit short. I think $40 per member between now and the end of the year.
Not per member.
Per member?
No, that's just active members.
Active, okay. Active members. So anyway, we're still a little bit short, so please reach in your pockets. You got a little bit more of an incentive because of what Lanier did. So I'd like to see us get to that goal. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Catherine Davis to come up and introduce our speaker.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone, again. It's my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Todd Anthony Walker. He is our new Richland 1 superintendent. So we are very happy that you're here and will be speaking with us today. Dr. Walker is an education leader and advocate for all students. He began serving as superintendent of Richland County School District 1 on July 1st, 2025, with a mandate to lead transformative change through appreciation and collaboration with all stakeholders. As an educator for over 25 years, listen to all this. Dr. Walker has served as a teacher, professor, instructional coach, principal, director, chief officer, and superintendent. Before coming to Richland 1, Dr. Walker served as chief curriculum and instruction officer for Columbia City Schools, leading all teaching and learning offices within the largest school district in Ohio. He is a systems thinker and leader and a track record of integrating talent, resources, and strategies to increase organizational effectiveness, improve student outcomes, and close performance gaps. Also, Dr. Walker has earned his Bachelor of Arts degree, Master's degree in English Education, and Doctorate in Education Policy and Leadership from Ohio State University, and his Juris Doctorate from Capital University Law School. He is married to the beautiful Dr. Kenyana Nicole Walker, and together they continue to provide guidance and mentorship to their young adult son and daughter, Daniel and Terrell. He is a former marathoner, go figure. He's a former marathoner converted triathlete and enjoys listening to vinyl records across several music genres, especially jazz, as well as finding new places to dine out with his wife and hanging out with his 2 Australian Labradoodles, Milo and May. His greatest desire is to empower, to transform systems. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Todd Anthony Walker.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for that warm introduction and welcome. I want to start with just prefacing my comments with just a few introductions I know that I have. Dr. Tracy Cooper, who you all met earlier, who currently is the Director of Strategic Partnerships, but next year Dr. Cooper will assume a role as our Senior Chief Strategy Officer in the district. So she's someone that you'll want to get to know because she's going to be instrumental in helping us to further our work along with all of our staff as we move forward with our vision together. So I have a video that we'll start with. If the president, or if you just put the presentation up, we should be able.
It won't show on the screen. I can play the video for audio.
Okay. Well, just go to the PowerPoint. Then it's fine. We don't have to worry about the video.
Right, a well-developed argument.
Or we may just be having a robust conversation without is PowerPoint connected at all or no?
Yeah, it's connected. It's just not reading the file.
Okay. Okay. Improvise. That's what we do as teachers. So, I'll start off by sharing with you a story. In the late 1800s, the textile industry in Europe took a significant downturn. When I'm talking to middle schoolers, I have to tell them what textiles is. I presume you all know what that's clothing, okay? That's clothing manufacturing. And so, it took a significant downturn. And so, a gentleman who had 3 sons, wife, like many in Europe, particularly Great Britain at the time, decided that he was going to come to America to seek greater opportunity. He was interested in understanding what opportunity he could explore and maybe take advantage of in the United States. Within 2 weeks, though, tragically, he was murdered, deemed to be the victim of burglary and a subsequent homicide. And so he left back home in Great Britain, a wife who was virtually illiterate. She had about a 2nd or 3rd grade education, and 3 sons. The oldest son was extremely bright, had a lot of capacity, was a fast learner, and he was about 15 at the time. But because of the circumstance of his family, he was in a situation where he had to drop out, unfortunately, of school, go to work and support his family. And so he initially sought work in a factory, similar to his father. He was sort of a secretary for the factory manager. Subsequently went on to work in journalism, and then began to eventually write books. And his name was James Allen. Some of you may recognize that name because James Allen became what most people today recognize and understand as the father of inspirational or self-motivation books. And so one of my favorite quotes from James Allen's most well-known book goes this way. It says that mind is the master that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills brings forth 1,000 joys and 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Experience is but a looking glass. And so I start there because when I came to the district, one of the things that was extremely important to me was this idea of vision. And people say, well, what does that have to do with Vision 2030 and beyond? We have text and books that that are vision, copies of our vision that we'll give to everyone. And the video, we won't worry about the PowerPoint. You can see that later. But we're just going to have a family conversation today. One of the things that I believe about vision is a comprehensive and detailed picture of the future that includes everyone. I believe that in order for vision to work, it has to be a comprehensive and detailed picture, here we go, of the future that includes everyone. Here we go.
Right.
Video.
You ready for it? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You ready for the video?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Go.
Right, a well-developed argument might persuade me to believe what you believe if I didn't believe that to begin with, right? Remember that part? I really feel encouraged about work in Richland One. For me, it's when they finally get it, that education is important. Smiles are there, hard work comes, practice, have their back. We don't give up. And that's a product of Richland One.
These professionals do it, our over 4,500 employees, they're invested, they're locked in because they want to see children do great. Through the years, Richland One has been a mainstay. It's been the epicenter in the city of Columbia and in Richland County. Birthed in 1792, 2 centuries later, we are still fulfilling our mission. We put people on the moon. We have queens who are the sweethearts of America, doctors, lawyers, military leaders, public works workers, and all of that is because we started off as one, the school district for this city and county.
When you come from Richland One, there's a kind of sense of pride that you have about where you come from. Those 4 years at Kenan High School shaped my life. So many of my classmates have become successful and moved away, but why not stay here and show the kids that you can be successful coming from Columbia, South Carolina? For the past 15 years, my best friend Earl Hunter and I have sponsored all of Kenan Athletics. I wanted to make sure that if I could at least give a kid a spark, I feel like I've done my job. I've done what I was set here to do.
We all have a goal of just reaching these kids no matter what it takes. We're in good hands and we're ready to move and shake to get things where they need to be.
I always feel like the administration goal is to make sure the kids are good, everything's gonna be successful. That's where we are, and I'm excited about the future of Richland One. I really am.
So our theme in the district is rising together. And so as I started sharing with you the power of vision, I truly do believe that vision is a comprehensive and detailed picture of the future that includes everyone. The vision is too small until it includes you, until it includes me. The vision is too small unless it includes every stakeholder, every person who's connected to and touches the district, whether they're a parent, whether they're an elected official, whether they work in business, whether they work in the faith community, whether they work in an adjacent space, but it touches the district. Everyone, students, our faculty and staff must see themselves in the vision, and that's the power of vision. We live in a nation, as the gentleman that gave the prayer earlier today, is a great nation to live in, but our nation's founding document, July 4th, 1776, says that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and I would suggest women as well, and that they are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to preserve those rights, governments are instituted amongst men. I mean, I could go on. But the point is that that document is a visionary document. It's a document that now allows us to fellowship together in the way that we do within a stable society. It's a document that allows us to seek progress together. And about 200 years later, in 1963, Martin Luther King came behind that vision and talked about living in a country and living in a space where his children wouldn't be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, where, you know, little black girls and little black boys and little white girls and little white boys would be able to join together at the tables of sisterhood and brotherhood. And that is a world that I would suggest to you that today we have in many ways realized. But it started with a vision. And so vision is something that we must lean into heavily as we seek change. And so our vision is Vision 2030 and beyond. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today. I won't go to cover every aspect of this, but before you leave out, we have parting gifts for you. Everyone will get a copy of the vision, and there will be a test. So next time when you come back next week, I'm going to test you on the elements of the vision. The vision has these basic elements, history, because I believe that the depth and the breadth of appreciation determines the effectiveness and the longevity of collaboration. The depth and the breadth of appreciation determines the effectiveness and the longevity of collaboration. So if we're endeavoring to do anything together, we have to start with appreciation. And that the quality of our appreciation, or the time that we spend understanding context before content, right? The quality of our appreciation, of our contextual understanding of history and of who we are and how we got to where we are is foundational to us understanding the trajectory of where we're going to go. Kind of interesting, when you're in your vehicle, the windshield is broad and it's wide and it's expansive, and the rear view mirror is smaller. And so I believe that we should spend more time thinking about where we're going than where we've been. But it's also interesting that we have those side mirrors on the car that says that objects in the mirror are much closer than they appear. And so if we're not careful, our history can contain us and can capture us and can limit us instead of causing us to project into a broader, more expansive future. So we should pay attention to history, and we should also understand it. Our vision also talks about where we're going, and so that's point number 2. And then we have 4 core capabilities that I'll touch on quickly because I want to make sure there's time for questions. I know that you may have some. We talk about the power of a transforming culture, and then how it is that we're going to move forward together as a district with all of our stakeholders that we have. So, setting the tone. This is a little bit of our history. Kind of interesting. Our district is just a few years shy of the history of our nation. Our nation, we celebrate this year, right? 250 years. Our nation, which was founded in 1776. Our district was founded in 1792. Think about a district that is 234 years old. The history, the rich history is there. We started on 4 acres of land. Richland School District 1 now covers over 400 square acres of land. We started with a budget of around $20,000 to $30,000. The budget of the district now is about $492 million. It's about $500 million budget. And so that's significant in terms of the amount of complexity that is involved in a system like that. Our district has elements that are both suburban, urban, and rural. You cover 400 acres, you're going to see a little bit of everything. We're the first district in the city of Columbia. So when people came together and started thinking about the importance of what it means to have a system of public schools, Columbia started a system, and Richland School District 1, that finally, eventually became known, was the first of those districts. We've had significant growth. As I mentioned, we've gone from about $300,000 budget to about $500 million, but we've been extremely resilient over the years. This district has faced many challenges, all the things that we would expect. Certainly desegregation was a significant challenge. We haven't read a history of Columbia schools by Warner Montgomery. He's now deceased. I think he passed in 2023, but it's a compelling book that talks about the history of Columbia schools. That was one of the first books that I read when I got here. But he talks about many of the goals and the growths, right? The things that were difficult and tough, but also some things that the district did well. It's kind of interesting during desegregation. In most systems across the nation, black school leaders were displaced because you were integrated, and so most of the school leaders that were retained were white. But in Richland School District 1, to its credit, many of the black school leaders, not all, but most, were retained. And that was a concerted effort, it was an intentional effort on the part of the district to maintain leadership from not just white staff members, but also for black staff members. And so we got to look at everything. I believe that you got to look at everything from the rooted to the tutor. You got to look at everything from conception to completion, or inception to completion. Everything is important when you're talking about history. And so we have a rich history. Sort of interesting, like where we are now, there's aging infrastructure that we're dealing with, as we're sort of thinking through our district. We have schools that are 100 years old, some that are newer, but we just had a facility conditions assessment done, and so we know that we have to continue to think about the quality of our facilities. The one good thing that we have going for us is that we've done an we've done an exceptional job maintaining our facilities. So most of our facilities are in what we would call a B grade or above. We have a few that are dipping down below, but our infrastructure for the most part is doing well. And we have a different sort of challenge when you start talking about space utilization. And so that's something that we'll have to continue to attend to, because of the district's enrollment, and this is happening all across the country in urban centers, as the district's enrollment declined, and now we're sort of plateauing. We did not always make decisions that were commensurate to that in terms of the amount of buildings that we still have. And so if the amount of buildings that we have is the same as when we had 15, 20,000 more students, then you can see how utilization may not be optimal. And so that's something that we'll have to continue to think through. But I'm telling you, nobody wants to close a school. You talk about, we closed 5 schools in Columbus, you thought we took somebody's firstborn. So those are tough conversations that have to involve everyone. And I think eventually we'll get there. But we won't start there, and I'll talk you through that in here a little bit. So urban renewal. The landscape of the district is changing. If you look at what's happening on Forest Drive, the landscape of the district and the things that are within the footprint of our school district are changing and will look different. There's growth that's happening. There's people, South Carolina is the fastest growing state in the nation. You look at Garner's Ferry. There's a lot of housing that's going up in that area. That space looks different. You look at Bull Street. Bull Street, it looks different than what it did 5, 10 years ago. And so there's growth that's coming, and that will continue to come. And so we have to be thinking about that as a district, shifting demographics. Because growth is coming, we have demographic shifts that we also need to be paying attention to as a district. And so as we're thinking about 2030 and beyond, I'm going to talk to you just a few things, and I'm going to hasten to the point in some of this because we won't have time to cover all these, but there are a couple of these things that I think are really important. So I want you to understand sort of what we see as our core capabilities that we need to develop as a system. And so I believe in what I call the 4 steps of map reading. The first step of map reading is know where you are. All right, you go into the outlet mall. I saw your cars right there. You go into some outlet malls. I know where y'all going. So you go into wherever Louis Vuitton, some of y'all are shopping. Yeah, you know what Louis Vuitton is. Some of y'all are there. Where you go to the shopping mall, right? You need to figure out, okay, where am I? Right? So you get out of your car and you go up to the map there and you say, okay, where am I? So that first step of map reading is know where you are as positioning. And so that's why when I came in, I did a 100-day assessment to just say, okay, where are we as a system? How are we doing? And I heard a lot, right? One of the main things I heard was that trust is low, right? There was a sense of a disconnect with many people, not with all, but with many. It's kind of interesting. Trust is like a wave. When you're surfing on the top of a wave, everything's great. It's hard to lose, right? But if you've ever been to the beach and got caught up under the surf and you're getting pummeled by a wave, it makes everything bad. If you've ever had a breach of trust in a relationship, going to the grocery store is like starting a nuclear war. Oh, y'all so serious in here. Only faithful people in this room. Only faithful people. If there's been a breach of trust, small things become big things. Things that aren't even really issues can appear to be. And so trust is something that I knew we were going to have to work on. And so you'll see that in these core capabilities. So 4 things. 1 is connectedness. Connectedness just means the sense of which people feel connected to the district. And this connectedness, this concept is really outward facing. And so it's this idea that, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, that we're all caught up in an inescapable garment of destiny. Right? A network of mutuality. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. And so it's this idea that if individuals are connected and institutions are made up of individuals, I believe that institutions are also interconnected. And so as a district, we're making a concerted effort to make sure that we're connected with all of our stakeholders. Who's a stakeholder? Ellen Weaver, you just heard from her last week. The South Carolina State Department of Education is a stakeholder. Who's a stakeholder? Pastors and faith leaders are stakeholders. Who's a stakeholder? Every parent is a stakeholder. Who's a stakeholder? Every business leader is a stakeholder. Who's a stakeholder? Every student is a stakeholder. Who's a stakeholder? All of you are stakeholders. And so we're going to be effective as a system. Our students only spend 7 hours a day-ish with us. The rest of the time they're in their homes, they're in communities. And so we need to be thinking collectively about how it is that we work together to ensure that our students are effective and successful. Next, college and career readiness. College and career readiness is just this idea. I spent a few hours, Tracy was with me at Scout Motors, and it was a phenomenal experience. There are new training centers that they have going on out there. This idea of college and career connectedness just means that we have to make sure that our students are the leaders as it relates to their ability to be workforce ready. And that doesn't always mean a college degree. Now, I'm not against education. I have 2 terminal degrees. I have a PhD and a JD. So I'm not against education. But what I will tell you is I spent, and increasingly I've been spending time with folks who, hey, there are other pathways. I spent time with a pilot who worked for United. And he said, look, after 20 years, you can make $500,000. I said, what? Air traffic controller, starting out over $100,000. These aren't 4-year degrees. And so there are multiple pathways to a sustainable lifestyle that I believe is a mandate for us to allow our children to experience and have an opportunity to be exposed to. Because if not, we're missing out on talent and an opportunity not only for them, but for us. And so the idea of college and career connections is that we're going to be thinking about what career pathways look like in each of our clusters. And so with all of our partners, not just Scout, but also with Westinghouse, with Tyson Foods, and with others, many of you are business leaders. Tracy's working on an initiative that's getting us to think about, okay, what does it look like for our students to come out of high school and be ready to work in industry? Not everyone's going to go to college, but we want everyone to graduate with a career certificate that then can translate into a college degree if they choose to do that. Many of our kiddos will. Many of them will. But not all of them will. But whether they choose to go to college or not, or whether they go to the military or right to the workforce, we want them to be ready with workforce-ready skills. The definition of miscommunication is when I say something and you understand me to say something different than what I said, or you understand something different than what I intended to say. And when we're preparing students for a world that doesn't exist, I'm saying we've done everybody a disservice. If we're preparing students with skills that aren't applicable for what you need as business leaders, then we have failed. And so our goal is that we have to be strictly integrated with you, with business leaders and others who are going to be the employers, so that we make sure that there's a tight fit between the students that we're producing in terms of their skill, and not just their skills, but their character in terms of grit, tenacity, their ability to stay with it, adaptability, communication. IQ is not enough. IQ times EQ equals CQ. You say, what's CQ? CQ is collective intelligence. And you can have the best IQ, but if you don't have emotional intelligence, you will not be successful in the workplace of today. And so I tell students the equation is multiplication. So a 0 anywhere is a problem. If you have a high IQ and 0 EQ, you got a problem. Okay, but even if you have a high EQ but 0 IQ, you still got a problem. So it's both and, not either or. I think it's not. University model. This idea of a university model just says this. We recognize that within our system, we need to have diversity and uniqueness because all of our schools are different. Okay, I don't expect for Lower Richmond to be exactly like Dreer, or for Dreer to be exactly like Florida, or for Florida to be exactly like Eau Claire, or Keenan, or Columbia, or our Middle College, or C.A. Johnson. All of them will have some level of distinctness, and those schools that feed into them will have some level of distinctness. But they also all should have a commonality of what it means to be part of Richmond School District 1. There should be a distinct presence of what it means to be part of our district. 3C approach. This is a systems way of thinking about effectiveness. When I say 3C, I'm talking about clarity, coherence, and competence. For results fast, go slow. For results fast, go slow. There's an African proverb that says if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I believe, and it's not just what I believe, if you talk to Jack Buff, he'll tell you the same thing. This is what he did at GE, that you have to have simplicity before you can add speed. If you try to add speed before you have simplicity, you're going to have chaos. And so when I say 3C, what I'm saying is we have to have a clear idea of what we're trying to do. What does that mean? We have to know who's doing what, how, by when. I don't believe success is magical. It's patterned and well executed. So when I'm talking to anyone in my organization and we're talking about processes, my question is who's doing what, how, by when. And then the question is, do we understand coherence about how what you're doing is logically connected to the next person? Because the reason we often have lost in our 4x1 in the Olympics is not because we didn't have the fastest runners. The problem's in the exchange. It's what happens when one person goes to hand off the task to the next person. And so our system is focusing on making sure that we are not dropping the ball. Because we're a large system and there are multiple departments and most things that happen are interdepartmental in our system. And so you as the consumer or as the end user, your experience, if it's challenged or if it's less than effective, is usually because there's a handoff issue within the organization that's causing the issue. Edward Deming said this. He's the father of modern management science. 85% of issues in an organization are not people issues, they're process issues. And so if you're experiencing an issue in an organization, it's usually not because of a person, it's usually because of a process that's not well understood. And then lastly is confidence. We have to go slow to go fast. We have to practice slow first. So when Dawn Staley's working with the young ladies for basketball, they're practicing those plays slow first. And then they add speed to it. And so that is our approach as a system to becoming more effective. And my expectation is that as we grow in our capacity to deliver on these things, to deliver on being connected, to deliver on being the leader, the preference for college and career connected learning in our footprint, to deliver on being a university model that says that we understand that we're going to have diversity and unity within our system. And then there's 3C, that we will become the leader in our region around effectiveness in our work. So I talked through these things. I have about 7 minutes, so I'm watching my time as we get to the end here. So I talked about 3C. So I'm going to talk a little bit about having a transforming culture. And so the basic idea here is that there are 18 behaviors that I expect from everyone. So these are guiding principles: integration, involvement, growth and development, respectful communication, simplicity, follow through. And those are sort of undergirded by our values and our norms, collaboration, trust. We use our time effectively, we listen and are present. We talk with people, not about ideas, not about people and personalities. And most of the time, it's interesting, in organizations, most of the time should be spent on talking about processes, but most of our time is usually spent on talking about people. Just look straight ahead. They won't know you're talking about them, okay? The person next to you, I know they came with you. Look straight ahead. They won't know. Most of our time is usually spent talking about people, not about processes. But the effectiveness of our systems are in processes. Okay, so we have 18 behaviors that we expect from everyone. Whether you're the superintendent or whether you drive a bus. Whether you work in food and nutrition, or whether you're a teacher or a principal, or whether you're a chief, or a deputy, doesn't matter what your role is in the district, we have 18 behaviors that we expect from everyone. I don't have them all listed here, but one of those behaviors I would describe, they are listed here, but they're too small to read. But one of those behaviors, you can read about them, is we believe in being upfront, open, honest, specific, direct, and caring in our communication. And don't forget the caring. Because most people want to tell you everything that's on their mind, but the way they say it is not caring. And so upfront means that we're going to be, if there's an issue, we're going to talk about it, specific. Direct. But you got to be open. If you're going to be upfront, you have to be open to what the other person is going to say back to you. And then we also have to make sure that we're caring, and that should be happening both internally within our organization and externally within our organization. And these are my expectations, and guess what? We're going to measure them. Because I believe what gets measured gets done. And people gravitate towards what we celebrate or recognize, repetitiously communicate, and frequently monitor. And so all the above. All the above. We're going to recognize when these behaviors are happening. We're going to applaud when it happens. We're going to repetitiously communicate them, and everyone will have an opportunity to be educated on them. And then we're also going to hold people accountable for whether these things are happening or not. So moving forward, what are our expectations? I mentioned to you that I believe that there's 4 steps of map reading. One is positioning. Know where you are. We spent 90 days, 100 days, really, in the community. I went to 16 different places in the community just listening. I didn't do a whole lot of talking. Tell me the glows and the blows, the grows and the glows of Richmond School District 1. And I really just listened and had people tell me, okay, what's the challenge? What's an opportunity? What's something that, if you had to pick one thing that would be different in 365 days and a year from now, what would that be? And we captured all that. Out of that, we created our vision. And I told you I believe that vision is projecting, is a comprehensive, detailed picture of the future that includes everyone. So we're going to take a trip, we're going to California, but where are we going in California? There's a lot of places in California, it's a big state. Are we going to San Diego? Are we going to San Francisco? Are we going to LA? So we have shared a vision, both internally and externally, that is comprehensive and detailed. It's a picture of the future that includes everyone. It's projecting. It's where we're going. And now we're currently in our strategic planning processes. We're orienting, which is diagnosis. And I believe that prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. It's malpractice in medicine. It's a malpractice in leadership. And so we have to diagnose what is the distance from where we currently are to where we want to be. Okay, Dr. Walker, 2030 and beyond, this is where you say you want to be, but where are we right now? And so we need to understand the distance and the direction from where we are today to where we want to be. And then we need to plan and chart the course. We have to benchmark. What are our 3 to 5 year goals? What are our 1 to 3 year goals? And then how are we going to meet them? And again, my confidence is because success isn't natural. I found this out everywhere I've been, everywhere in my career. It's patterned and it's well executed. We only have to have the courage to lay the vision out, to lay out a framework for how we're going to evaluate and measure everyone, and then hold everyone accountable. But you have to lead by example. That's what's hard. Everybody wants change until they have to change. But the reality is nobody likes change but a wet baby. Everybody I've talked to about change, it never fails to, oh yeah, I don't mind changing, until I touch the one thing that you like that now has to be changed. And so we're rising together. I think there's a last video, so we'll see if that'll play.
I do feel that Richmond One has prepared me to take the next steps in my life. The foundation of leadership that it's given me, we continuously grow. There's always something new, and that I love about our community.
That's where you all start. There's a pathway for everybody, a choice. I'm currently taking the IB program, which stands for International Baccalaureate. It is a little bit uncomfortable trying to share my thoughts sometimes, but I think that class has pushed me out of my comfort zone, and in that way, I think it will prepare me for my future. But also, it looks great on the transcript. Am I allowed to say that?
Not only are we working on their intellect, but their social emotional well-being with our parent liaisons that are in each school, social workers, we've got the whole package.
I think sometimes people have a perception of Richmond One, but when they really come in and realize the vast array of services and wraparound services that we provide, our commitment to educational excellence, our array of extracurricular activities, they're blown away. As a military spouse, I've been blessed to teach in many different states. And as a parent myself, it's been a great experience for both of our children. As an educator, I can attest to endless opportunities that our school district does offer for families that you cannot find in some of the school districts or even the private schools that are in the area. being able to work with Dr. Walker's Student Ambassadors Program this year has opened my eyes to the ways in which someone is working to make student voices more heard. The future for someone is very bright.
That's definitely part of why I am still here. I see things going in the right direction, and I'm excited.
2 centuries later, we are still fulfilling our mission to engage, educate, and empower. We're leaning in and we're rising together. Rising together. Rise. Rise.
We are rising together.
Okay, so So I'm watching time. Is there time for questions? If there are some. Okay. Yes.
What's the graduation and then dropout rate in District 1?
Our graduation rate right now is around 85%. So that we let you know what the dropout is. That's district-wide, so some schools are doing a little bit better generally.
Well, Ellen said I couldn't ask the question last week, so I'll ask one today. You and I talked beforehand, and I talked about the relationship between the school and the principal and my family, because I got paddled at home when I got paddled at school.
Right.
Talk about in an urban district like Richland 1, where there's some great things, but there are also some pockets of poverty and family issues. How do you begin to get those children involved and buying into and seeing this rising vision?
You know, I think that's right. I mean, I like what Ellen said last week, is that poverty is not a predictor of excellence. And what I say, and you'll read it if you read the last few sentences of the vision, is that excellence is a noun that remains unmodified by zip code, genetic code, or area code. I believe that excellence supersedes and surpasses any other adjective that we may want to put on it. And so it's a mindset. You know, that's why I started with that James Allen quote, that mind is the master that molds and makes. And man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys and 1,000 ills. We think it's secret, and it comes to pass. Experience is but a looking glass. Some say it this way: we see things not as they are, but as we are. And so what we've seen in our schools, and Andy Burnside is one where we saw that school go from below average to excellent. And it's a school that, if you look at it on paper, has 85% of the students are in poverty. So that's not the thing that stops us. Now, are there challenges associated with poverty? I would suggest there's challenges associated with wealth. So whether we want to look at poverty or wealth, I've seen my own children that I raised, they had a pretty good life. And I found that, look, maybe I should let you struggle a little bit more. Because there's some things you learn from the struggle that when it's not there, you have to, and people that have had money over generations figure out that it's not, some things it's not good to give you too soon. Because you don't learn how to struggle through it. So I think I tend to have an asset mentality towards what we can do. And mine is saying that we're going to acknowledge what's going on, but we're not going to allow anything to become an impediment that what we can be. You can be excellent no matter where you are, no matter what you look like, where you start. Excellence can be for you and is for you. And I think that the adults, children will rise and fall to the level of the expectations of the adults around them. And I told there's power in words. You know, I told my own children, why do we have to do it? Because I said so. I don't feel like doing it, Dad. I didn't ask you to feel like it. I said that you need to do it, right? I used to, when I was an English teacher, I had a word for every kid I would go around. I would say, you are excellent. You're going to be more than a conqueror. You're going to accomplish great things. And these were high school seniors and juniors. And some of them, what the heck is he doing? Who's this crazy man up here teaching English? By the time we got to halfway through the year, I didn't give them their word of the day. They say, hey, Dr. Walker, what? You forgot my word. So I believe that they'll rise to our expectations. Other questions?
Yes, would you please share what was going through your mind and why you recently jumped out of a perfectly good airplane?
That's right. That's right. So if you haven't seen that on the news, yeah. So, I believe we have to connect and relate to everyone. Now here's the thing. I think I should probably say, hey, our kids, we want to put a reading goal in front of them, this aggressive reading goal. What can we do? What would you want to do? And he said, they sort of flippantly put out, jumping out of the plane. I said, no, I'll do it. They said, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'll do it. And the reason why is because, our kids need to understand that, it's okay to take risks. It's okay to, there was a point there where I was willing to watch the video. There was a point where I got a little sober. Like, I'm really getting ready to jump out of this airplane. I mean, it was all high fives and stuff. And then when she started clicking me in, I said, okay, let's lock in, as the kids say. But it's okay to take risks, right? It's okay to try something new. And I wanted them to understand that, hey, we're in this together. And the adults around you are invested in your success. And so I think that's always healthy when we can show kids that what they do matters and that we're willing to celebrate with them as they achieve their goals.
Dr. Walker, a lot of head football coaches nowadays go out and recruit the best talent. I'd like to see you recruiting talent to Richland One because I think you'd be a great motivator trying to get some teachers and more administrators here that we need. How is recruiting going right now?
We're actually, we had a recruiting event about a month ago and they said that it was a packed house. And so I think that the word's going to get out. I'll end on this point because I think we're about at time. Walter Isaacson wrote a book. He writes a lot of books, right? Biographer. He wrote one on Steve Jobs. And he remarked about Steve Jobs. He said Steve Jobs has what he called a reality distortion field. And that reality distortion field was such that we're all walking around here with iWatches and iPhones and all of these things because he saw reality as it was, but he chose a different reality that could be. And I don't like the word distortion, but I believe that leaders carry around them with them a reality creation field. And we have the ability as leaders to create a reality that doesn't exist. That's why those of you who are business owners, before you were doing what you were doing, that thing didn't exist, but you had the courage, the tenacity, the conviction to say things can be different than what they are. And I believe that about leadership generally, and certainly about the work that we're doing in Richland School District 1. And it's not just that what we're saying, it's when your words and your actions align and you have systems that hold everyone accountable to the expectation, things change. And so what I have seen that things have already changed, the people that we're marketing to and they change, it's not going to change overnight. And we didn't get here in one day. There were a lot of great things going on before I came. There are no ineffective schools in Richland School District 1. I can't take credit for that. That work was happening before I got here. There were some issues though, as you all know. And I believe in taking ownership of things as they are, not as we want them to be, and moving towards a reality that is more hopeful, more inspirational, and more full of a future that all of us want to participate in and can see ourselves in. We are rising together. I'm Todd Walker. I'm your superintendent, and I approve this message.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I feel really good about where we're going in District 1. So, next week we've got Mark Rapp from Columbia Jazz is going to be our speaker. And just remember, one thing before I say this, y'all go out of this room feeling good about what we did this past weekend at Benedict. We raised a lot of money that's going to do a lot of good in this community. So thanks for that. And then just remember, board members, we've got a board meeting. So we're going to blue buckets, yeah.
And cart message.
Blue bucket. Thank you, Lanier.
As Dr. Charlie Sloan used to say, you need to put silent money in it.
Right. Money. Bring a check next week. So we're going to do closing song, and we're going to do it a cappella. So y'all stand.
Beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crowned thy shining sea.
Y'all have a great week.
Let me take that opportunity really cool. Well, you know, it's just like champagne. It bubbles over.